Come here, land here. Let's talk about home ownership. Home ownership. Yes, home ownership. Now, my name is Lucy Githaiga, welcoming you again to this channel. You know, this is a channel where we talk all things money, all things women and money. And so I continue to request you to subscribe, to like, to share, to comment. And I know this is a subject that sometimes, people say it is possible, it is not possible. Let's ask ourselves. I mean, instead of just concluding that it is not possible, let's ask, is it really possible? But we're going to be talking about home ownership. Home ownership as a strategy for financial security, or as part of that whole process of financial security. By the way, if you have not watched the 3-part series on financial freedom, please go there and fast watch, because I will be mentioning a few things, from those videos. They're just 3 videos. Please go there, watch. You have part 1, part 2, part 3 of the 7 steps of financial freedom. So I'll be touching on a little bit of it based on what I am going to be talking about today. And this series, we're going to break it down into 3. Yeah. So this part 1, we will be talking about why it is important to have a home. By the way, Mimi, I will tell you why it is important to have a home. I know. And then number 2, we'll be talking about, is it really possible to have a home? Is it really possible? That's going to be in part 2. And then finally in part 3, we're going to be asking ourselves, hey, okay, Lucy said it is important to have a home. Lucy said it is possible to have a home, but the how? Sasa, how? Kiaje sasa? So part 3, we'll be looking a little bit about the how, just how, throwing in those ideas, what I think, whatever, just helping. And by the way, I speak to professionals. People who are in employment. And the reason I speak to people who are in employment is because I know the temporary nature of employment. Employment is not permanent. By the way, even if you're given that thing called permanent and pensionable, at some point X, it will come to an end. So, and I always say that if you're in employment, it is important that you use your employment income so that you can secure your future. In fact, I call myself a personal financial wellness coach that helps women in employment, in senior level management, in mid-level management, to take charge of their financial future. And one of those things of taking charge of your financial future is asking yourself, how are you taking care of your financial security? How are you taking care of your financial security? And therefore, that process of taking care of financial security is what we shall be discussing. And we are taking this thing called home ownership. And please, I want you to just relax. Let's talk. Let's just have this conversation. Don't. Let's just have this conversation and see how it will go. Now, if now that I have invited you to go to those videos of the financial freedom series, which is a 3-part series, you will recall that I think in video 2, the second part 2, we spoke about this. We spoke about breathing room as a financial freedom step. We also spoke about stability, and then I think in part 3 we spoke about flexibility. So because by the time you're getting into the 3rd level of financial freedom of the breathing room, it means that you have been able to meet your needs. The money you're earning is over and above the bills that you have. Now, if you're either starting up in career, or you're somewhere in midstream in your career, why is it that you should order? Why is it that you should put order into your home, into your home ownership goal? So today we're going to be talking about why it is important to have a home. Please hear me out. Hear me out. Why it is important to have a home. And by the way, I know some of you are saying, it's too hard. We will be talking about why it is, its possibilities in the next video. But today we're just talking about why it is important. Friends, listen to me. By the way, this is a 50-year-old woman talking to you. And remember me, I speak to people who are in employment, to women who are in employment. And I know that people in business may benefit from, what we talk about here. Because by the way, even in business, hata biashara, even business, and if you, by the way, I should have come with my book. By the way, even if you're in business, that unless you're building a sustainable system to sustain your business, if your business is that one of owning, there is what I call having a job, which is someone who is employed and then owning a job, owning a job, and you have no systems that can secure that sort of assure sustainability. You are like just that person who is employed. The only thing here, the difference is that you have employed yourself anyway, right? So now that category of people, or let's just talk about people who are in employment. Now, people who are in employment, number one, you have the advantage of an income, some stable income. You can be able to plan, you can be able to budget your money, you can be able to, you know that this month I will receive this much, this other month I will receive this much. So there's a bit of what would I say? There's a bit, you can be able to do a bit of projection, a little bit of projection, because you know what you're working with, okay? And of course, I know that, of course, if you're in career, if you're in employment, you are always looking for opportunities to sort of rise so that you can make more money and so that you can advance. Now, the reason why I say it is important to have a home is because, let me tell you, you do not want to start thinking about home ownership, your home ownership goal, when you're in your 40s, when you're in your 50s, when you're about to retire, or when you get your retirement check is when your retirement, your pension, that is when you're now beginning to think about a home, especially if you, and by the way, it doesn't really matter, but especially if you see that your life is going to be in the urban area, in the urban place where you're sort of working. That is, by the way, where you probably will spend most of your time. Because if you, depending, even if you're in employment, and maybe then you eventually sort of leave employment, whether by choice, voluntarily, or by default, or by being told utaenda, or through retirement, whatever the route that gets you out of employment, you have got to ask yourself, okay, so is my life going to be in the city, or is my life going to be in the village? If you're going to be, if your passion is around issues of farming and you want to settle there, then of course you would have to then make the decision about, putting your home there. But even having a home here is still okay. You know why? Why I say that it is okay if you're working in an urban center to still have a home, to still consider having a home here. Because even if you retire, to say you have decided where after your employment you will go and settle back in the village, you still can either sell the house, the townhouse, or rent it out, and it can still begin to give you cash flow. So home ownership is important for that reason. It can provide it if you're relocating elsewhere, assuming you're relocating to your rural home after you're done with work, and maybe that is where you want to settle. Maybe you want to do farming, maybe whatever kind of thing that you want to do, but you're clear that maybe your life is not necessarily here. But for the most part, the significant proportion of your time is spent in the urban area doing work, and maybe doing post-employment business. Then it's important to consider a home, right? It is important to consider a home. Number two, the other reason why it is important to consider a home is because employment is not permanent. It is not permanent. By the way, you can lose a job like that inaitangwa the twinkle of an eye, like that. And by the way, I have that experience of twinkle of an eye. I remember when I was, how old was I? I was, that was in 2004. Yes, 2004. I was 31 years. I went to work one Tuesday morning. I'll never forget. It was a Tuesday. I went to work one Tuesday morning. And because I had my baby, that was in the month of June 2004. I had my baby. My second born was born in January 2000. What am I talking about? 2006, not 2004. 2006. So I was 33 years. I was just about to hit 33. So my baby was born in 2006 January, my second born, and I then had this situation of I go to work one Tuesday morning because I had been on maternity leave, and where I used to work, they used to give us what they used to call flexi time. So for if you are still like breastfeeding, your baby was still like early, like 6 months, before 6 months, you would come to work, like around 10 o'clock and maybe leave at 3, 4. I mean, we had that flexi time. So me, I go to the office one Tuesday morning at that hour of around, I think it was either 9:30, 10. And before I could just settle on my desk, my colleague tells me, by the way, the finance director is calling you. He was asking for you. He said you see him when you come. So I go to the finance director's office. Hey, and I sit. I say hi to him, and then he tells me, no, Lucy, we have, you have been having problems in this project, and therefore we have made the management has made a decision that you and your team should hand over the program by Thursday that very week. So I only had a day, basically that Tuesday. First of all, Tuesday to absorb the shock, to sort of deal with, okay, hakuna kazi, deal with it, and then on Thursday and prepare my team, of course, prepare my team because I was a team leader, prepare my team about this decision and what it probably meant for them. And then now on Thursday to sit down so that we can do a handover, put together everything, handover, and by Thursday we are off. Now that can happen to you. You can lose your job, and because then you can lose your job, and because like for people who are especially in working for NGOs, how the erratic nature of contracts, the erratic nature of funding. You can lose your job anytime. I mean, your funding may not be forthcoming, so it's possible to actually just lose your job. I mean, whether you're working for corporate, maybe people in government are different, but whether you're working for corporate or NGO, it's possible to actually just come to work and find that you have no job. I have that experience myself when I was in my early 30s. Now, that is why, therefore, I urge that it is important to actually consider the home ownership as an important goal. The other reason is that, I mean, we have all come from the season of COVID-19. You know what COVID-19 did to jobs. You know what COVID-19 did to businesses. I mean, the shock and the lack of and the fact that we were all holed up in our homes, and the fact that there was nothing going on. Many people lost their jobs during that season. Many people lost their businesses during that season. So you can imagine the pressure of having to pay rent during that period. So I think I always say that, and I always tell women, and women especially who are in, I know probably for people who are in senior management, who have they probably have more disposable income, so therefore they might already have worked on their goal, but it's not all of them. I mean, even in an organization, you will see that there are very few people who have taken home ownership goal as an important goal in their life. So so to that extent, then you find that people are just moving that kipepeo dance, that thing that I call kipepeo dance. And the reason why that is so is because, remember when we talked about the financial freedom levels, we spoke about 7 levels of financial freedom, and the first level was clarity. And I invite you to go back to those videos so that you can watch. The first level was clarity. If you do not have clarity that home ownership is an important goal for you, it is impossible for you to plan for it. Completely impossible for you to plan for it. So that is important. And sometimes I know sometimes people ask me, I don't have enough money. I can't, there's this particular home, the kind of home that I want. There's a particular kind of home that I want, and it's it's high. I can't right now. I don't have the resources, blah, 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 all that. Remember, by the way, let me tell you a story. Even if you are to start with your home, maybe it's not necessarily the dream home that you desire. You can still, bring up your children there in that maybe 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom, small bungalow house, wherever that would be. And as you continue to advance in your career, as you continue to, get more money, as you continue to sort of make more money, as you continue to grow, then you might then, consider that other, big dream of your dream home. And by the way, the home that you build, because even when you build that home, it's not like it is static. It may not be giving you money, but there's what is called the capital growth. I mean, the value of land where your house sits, will grow. And because maybe the area that you will be, maybe the neighborhood will continue to grow, there will be more amenities, and therefore the value of that land goes up. And therefore, even when you really just want to then have that dream house, it's possible for you to say, you know what, I am going to sell this house and move to my and be able to sort of consolidate the resources that I will get, and then I can be able to then buy or move to the so-called dream house. But for purposes of your financial security, because we are talking about financial security, and financial security is that place where those things that you do that sort of give you a little bit of security, that if anything happens, you're not so shaken. You're not so shaken. So it's like you're building a little bit a small, some foundation little by little, so that you keep sort of ticking some of those goals. And by the way, there is nothing wrong in having that small house, and then you can, with time, as you grow, as you expand in your resources, you can then have those that whatever. And I will give you, in the next video, of course, I'll be telling you why, how possible it is, that it is possible. And I want you to ensure that you place in your mind the possibility that indeed it is possible to have a home, because people have done it. And all the people who have homes, it's not like they are of a different, it's not like they are made of different, it's the same blood, the same nose. They have one nose, they have two eyes, they have 2 ears and a tongue, it's the same. They are the same. It's just probably the psyche that is different. And by the way, I always tell people, or I always tell maybe, and this, I know this video is probably suitable for middle-aged people who are in their 30s. I know that this is a conversation that is important for you, for people who are in your 30s. I know for people who are in their 20s, if there are any here, this is when you're beginning to sort of, figure out, you are still not, you are still at level 1 and 2 of financial freedom. So perhaps this may not be for you, but it is still for you, because when you get to the 3rd level of your financial freedom journey, that breathing room, you will remember that there was one Lucy Gidaiga who told you about the importance of home ownership. Home ownership is important. And by the way, I know that if you have read Robert Kiyosaki's book, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, I think, Rich Dad Poor Dad, or maybe the cash flow quadrant, there is the perspective from Robert Kiyosaki that says, home ownership is a liability. Of course, always remember that we come from different environments, and of course, if you have loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of cash, loads and loads of business, you're doing business, you have business systems that can actually pay for your house, that's a different conversation. But we are talking about employees here. We are talking about people who are in employment. That's where now we contextualize conversations. Because, for example, I would imagine that in the US, housing is such a big, it's expensive perhaps to own a home. Of course, Kiyosaki is he is in big business, so so that works. That works in certain context, for sure. It does work in certain context. But I think when you are in employment, and for the most part, for people who are in employment, not many of them have another stream of income. Many of them have one stream of income, and even if they have another stream of income, is probably some side hustles that are just sort of bringing maybe limited income that pays out for their bills, helps them to sort of continue sustaining. So this conversation about home ownership is very contextualized. It is contextualized for people who are in employment. Please get me that, so that even when you're commenting, and it's okay to comment and say, oh, Robert Kiyosaki said we don't, home ownership is a liability. It becomes a liability in this sense. For example, if you build a big home, remember, you could, for example, if you have a very big house, remember, if it is a big house, remember, an asset is what brings money into your pocket, and a liability is what takes money out of your pocket. Now, if you have a big home, that means that big home, you will require a gardener, Okay, to sort of garden and keep the compound neat and nice, you will require, cleaner, and of course cleaners or cleaner or whoever it is. You require, of course, a watchman depending on where it is. You will require, the electricity. You will need, the bill becomes higher for that, because then you need to light up all the entire place, the entire compound. If you are in water, the water bill will be high, and there's a lot. And so if you look at that from that perspective, then yes, that big thing becomes a liability if you do not have loads of cash that from your business income that is probably meeting those that kind of expense. And you need to be able to ask yourself, at what point in your life is are you expanding? Do you want to sort of at what point of your life is a certain goals important, and at what point of your life can you sort of postpone and delay gratification? Because there is no one who made it. Let me tell you people, I wish delayed gratification is an important aspect when it comes to issues of finances, when it comes to issues of money, when it comes to issues of wealth creation. Anybody, speak to anybody. By the way, I give you homework. Speak to anybody who you admire and say, this one. And I'm not talking about people who have inherited their wealth. No, I am not. I'm talking about people who have built block by block from scratch. Ask those people. They will tell you that there are points in their lives when they had to really, really go frugal. There are points in their lives when they had to really postpone gratification, and therefore postponing gratification is an important consideration and perspective when it comes to wealth building. Even Warren Buffett, hata yeye by the way anakunywanga chai huko kwa nini kwa huku kwa ma coffee shops. So please don't get it wrong. Don't get it twisted. This thing is there is value in delaying gratification, because so you might want to say, oh, I want to live in this big mansion. Of course, you can sit and dream, and it's okay and it's beautiful, but you have to start acting. And so then where the rubber meets the road is where we shall be talking about now in the third video, in the third series, where we are talking about the practical steps. But for today, I hope today you have understood why it is important to have a home, because as you grow older, as you age, as you advance in age, there are many things that come, children's school fees, children in college, then of course even your parents getting unwell, maybe you need to support your parents, your sibling, so there are so many needs that come, and therefore that it is important to have ticked off and finished off with the home ownership goal early in life, so that you are done with that, done and dusted, so that now you can begin the process of consolidation. So home ownership is an important goal for financial security. I hope I have convinced you enough. I hope I have convinced you that home ownership is important, so that you can begin to say, what did that lady say? And by the way, let me tell you, do you know, even for me, I would never, ever, ever have gotten into the thing of home ownership had somebody not talked about it. So I hope that this video has triggered your mind and your thinking and your perspective about home ownership. Please let us. It is possible. We will talk about the possibility in the next series. So keep it here. And let me remind you, subscribe, comment, put that like. Surely don't be mean. Just imagine what does it take to just place a figure on that button called like? Surely, what does it take for you to just put a comment and say, yes, I love and I am interested in home ownership. Yes, home ownership is an important goal. Or no, I am not interested in home ownership. That's you. It's okay. All opinions are valid. Everyone has a right to their own opinion. I am this chick who shares from very practical perspective. Me, by the way, I am very practical. I am very practical. I like being completely practical, because when you get to that place called flexibility, as you continue to advance in your career, I talked about the financial freedom level 5. As you continue to advance in your financial freedom level 5, now when the kwa hizo video ukasikia what that level 5 is, you will begin to land into shiny objects, my friend. You will land in shiny objects unless you are listening to me. And when you land in shiny objects, you begin to get into the crisis of debt. Once you get into the crisis of debt, home ownership becomes takes a back burner. So I don't want you to take home ownership as a back burner. Let us start. Let us begin. Let us see. And so next time, next video, I will be telling you how it is possible. It is possible. It is possible because we want to put in your mind that it is possible. Now, until next week on Friday, I want you to keep it here. Then we can continue having conversations. Oh, by the way, did you know this Lucy Gedaiga here? This one who is speaking to you. I have a Wednesday Bible study. So if you go through the videos, you will see that there's a Wednesday Bible study. We are going through a ride through the Genesis, a ride through the book of Genesis, so that we can keep, helping each other to grow. By the way, the Bible is a beautiful book. It's a manual. It's a beautiful manual. It's like a manual for life. So go there. You will see every Wednesday. So keep it here. There's a lot that we're going to continue sharing on Fridays and on Wednesdays. So let's keep it here and let's keep growing. And we are going to grow and expand. We will grow and become wonderful people because we are kingdom people called to be kingdom citizens. May the Lord bless you. Until next time, asante sana.